Well, hello, everyone. We are so glad you're with us. Today, we have Sandra Hines. She's a broker with the Hines Group at the Agency Real Estate Company, and she stands out as one of Seattle's most highly endorsed and elite real estate professionals. She has won so many awards. She's got #1 in West Seattle in 2022, 2023, and we are super, super excited to have her. So, Sandra, welcome.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm very excited about this. I'm just a little nervous.
Well, don't be. So tell us, what advice would you have for kind of a new agent, maybe that's just starting out, or someone who's kind of in a slump right now?
Sure. So if you're a new agent, the one thing that I did when I got into the business was, I knew that I had a lot of contacts and that people, knew, liked, and trusted me. But the one thing I didn't have was the expertise. And I think that was always the one objection that I was getting. So I decided I wanted to go into my listing presentations or going into appointments where I also aligned myself with another top producer in the area and brought them in to sort of help me get that expertise element. And yes, I had to give up some of my commission to do that, but it got me the listing, or it got me the buyer. So I think, really trying to align yourself with someone when you're new to help you learn the ropes is something that's equally important to you as well as your clients. The other thing I recommend.
I want to say something on that, because I feel like sometimes I hear agents and they're like, well, I'm not going to take a lead from so-and-so because, it's a 35% referral fee and this fee and that fee. And they're like, it's just, I don't want to pay that high of a fee. And in my mind, I'm thinking, to me, that's so small-minded, because a perfect example, we had a referral that we gave out to one of our agents, and he actually just sent me an email, and he was like, do you remember this one guy? You gave it to me as a referral. I have since closed with the amount of referrals. He said over $200,000 worth of business from that client. And so to me, that's just, I want people to get out of that mindset. Like, if you've got a deal, take it. Don't worry about it's a 35% or a 40% referral. Just take it, work that person, and get as much referrals as you can and make it time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because you just don't know. You don't know that one person where, that you work with, where is that going to take you from there? And then you won't have to pay any referral fees moving forward. I had the exact same situation where I had one, it was a referral. I was paying HomeLight, which is a referral source I use. And it was, and that was not the best. It was not the best listing, as far as, price point and looks and all of that, but I took it. And then that led me to 5 other transactions because the family loved me and they started, and now I'm the family realtor as a result. So yes, it's sort of like we, take the opportunities that come your way, especially when you're new, because that can lead to so much more.
Yeah.
And then
keep going.
Yeah, sure. And then the other thing I would say too is that, a lot of agents, when they start new, they're working on trying to learn the systems and they're trying to figure out how things work, but they're not working really on their database and really, going forward and adding as many people as they possibly can, because it's your database is so key to a successful business, especially when you're starting out too, because you're going to be calling the people that talking to them, telling them, hey, I'm now a broker. I'm doing real estate, and the more people you can let know in your own sphere, the better, because then they're going to be referring you.
What about mindset? Like, what's kind of the mindset that you've seen for new agents starting out that have either allowed them to take it to the next level or for them to stay in a slump?
Well, I think, we all have fear, especially in in our business. We don't have, consistency. A lot of newer agents, who, think they get their license and they think that they're going to, to get business immediately. And if they don't see something, within the first couple months, they are ready to, to say that they're a failure and move on to something else. Well, you just have to be consistent, and you have to invest in yourself to be able to win in this business, and just, come from a place of abundance and not scarcity. I'll keep saying that, because it's when you make decisions based on fear, that is doing things that will hold you back. When you take a leap of faith, like you took a leap of faith if you're a new agent to become a broker, then you should totally just go with that and own it, and just don't give up on yourself so early.
I want to tell you, one of the reasons why I joined and I just love Canzel is that I can get 100% commission, I get revenue share, and I get stock. I am making thousands of dollars every single month in revenue share and stocks. And I now don't have to work nights and weekends on real estate anymore. I've actually never been to a real estate agent's retirement party, and I want to be the first one that people are coming to at a young age. And I want to share with you some of my favorite resources. So if you go to joincanzel.com/free, there's a couple that I want you to download. One is a 20 free lead generating PDF. It's going to help you generate leads for free that you can download, as well as there's one on how to double your business. I don't want you to miss it. Go download it today. joincanzel.com/free.
So you had talked about a book called The Go-Giver, and I've read that book as well. It's one of my favorites. Talk about why that book has meant so much to you.
Sure. So I read that early on in my career. I've been doing this for about 20 years. And the way that the book is, it's written by Bob Burg and David Mann, and it emphasizes the power of giving and not getting, and really just putting yourself out there, being authentic, and talking to people and finding out what are their needs. It might not even be a real estate need, and just really trying to pay it forward, trying to help them out. And when people see that you are trying to help them, it comes back to you in return. And it normally happens in spades. So, I'm a connector. I love to connect people. So when I'm talking to someone or a client and they mention that they have a need, I will figure out a way to help fill it, or at least get them in contact with someone, if they're talking about education or a school. I will say, I know someone that I can connect you with. These are the things that I think also show that you are going the extra mile, and you're actually not there as a salesperson. You're there as a person that you want to be of service. You want to give, you want to help, because that's how, because to me, if someone's going to trust you with one of their biggest investments in their life, they need to know that you're not just trying to sell them something. You actually have their back and you really care about them.
So one of the things that I always say is that agents are either a prospecting agent or a marketing agent, or they could be a little bit of both. And so, you could say, well, I'm going to do half prospecting, half marketing, and kind of divide it up. But what happens is, I feel like agents, what they do is they do neither one, and then they sit there and go, well, why do I not have business? So if you're a prospecting agent and you're not spending money on leads, what is the number of calls? Let's say you hired a new agent onto your team. What's the number of calls that you would say they need to be making in a day in order to be successful?
Wow. So I'm not necessarily a prospecting agent. I'm more of a marketing agent. But if you're starting out and you're making out, I would say that you should be making personal connections. I'd say 20 calls a day. And I would also do, I'd actually try to also do some one-on-ones, face-to-face meetings as well. I think that really is, impactful. It's more than just a phone call. And I also will encourage, I think a lot of times we have all these different ways that we can try to get leads, whether it's also open houses or calls or farming. Some people try to do too much. And so they're not really being really good at one or two of those, those leads. I think really honing in on what do you think is your best, like what fits you best, and really like just going to town on those one or two things. Because if you
I love that,
right?
Because I know an agent team, a husband and a wife, and they get all of their business from open houses. That's their thing. They do an open house on Thursday, they do one on Friday, and they do one on Saturday. Sometimes they do Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And that's it. Like they don't do a whole bunch of other stuff, but they've got that process down for how to do open houses. They put signs, like when they do an open house, there's 40 signs out. They're blasting it on Facebook. They're doing a Facebook Live. They do all things, but their one mechanism is the open house, and they make sure everyone knows about it. And that's their thing. What are some of the things that have worked for you, of your one or two things that have really led you to being able to have a lot of business?
Sure. So, the one thing I started doing some coaching about 12 years ago, and my real estate coach said, Sandra, all you need to do is show up. You need to just show up. And that led me to think, if I put myself out there and do the things that I really am passionate about, then it'll come back to me. So what I started doing was I started doing a lot of sponsorships with charities that are near and dear to me. I ended up being known as the West Side Baby Agent, and then also participating in other groups and putting myself out there that way. I also started a geographic farm, and have been just been consistent with monthly mailings to my luxury farm. It's a luxury farm is what I'm trying to do. And I know that takes a little bit of time. So it's like I'm beginning to see the benefits of beginning to get phone calls, and I am definitely getting leads that way. And then really just honing in on my sphere, because I've been doing this for 20 years. So I hold client events now 3 or 4 times a year. I also do pop buys to my clients 2 times a year as well. And of course I also try to meet people like one-on-one coffee meetings. Another thing that I used to do, which I haven't done, which I want to do again, is something called annual client reviews, where you go through your entire sphere and you actually produce a small market analysis that you send to them once a year, specific to them, to their neighborhood. And you're providing an item of value, because everyone's always interested about what their home is worth or what's going on in their neighborhood. And that also for newer agents, I think that's also a good thing to like show, the newer agents in their sphere that, that they're doing business and they know what they're doing.
So if somebody right now is in a plateau, what are some of the things that you would encourage them to do?
Well, I guess first off, I would say, look inward and see what are the things that you believe are holding you back. And for me, I've had 3 plateaus in my career. The first one was in 2011, sort of right after the Great Recession. And I was down in the dumps and I wasn't doing anything. And I decided to hire a real estate coach, and I got in, and it was a monthly program. And that gave me the accountability I needed. It surrounded me with other brokers who are sort of feeling the same way. So we all sort of band together, and we learned, what are the things that we should be doing. We learned about market data, and we were able to start implementing various things. It just gave me like a whole new fresh outlook on real estate, and it gave me the fire again that I needed to have sparked. And I still am doing coaching to this day, and I will not stop coaching, because I feel like if I do that, that's like, then I will start going backwards again. I need that accountability is what I've learned. Another thing would be, so when you feel that you are handling as much business as you can as just one broker, but yet you're scared to take that next step to hire someone, I encourage you to take that leap. I did that back in 2020, and I hired someone to help me with she's not another broker. She's someone that helps me with all my listings, getting them prepped and ready, dealing with contractors, all that, which now has freed me up to be able to have more personal connection with my sphere. And that in turn has brought me so much more business. And that's truly how I am the number one agent in West Seattle over the last 2 years, is because I did that. And now I can't imagine going back to what I was doing before, because I was just overwhelmed. I was having panic attacks. And that's another thing that's like so important. It's like, I need to take care of myself, and we all need to take care of ourselves and put ourselves first, our health first. So that was one thing I did to sort of help me. And then,
also about your personal story, that the year that you had your best year in real estate, you talked about a personal story that you had shared with me, and it might inspire others.
Oh, thanks, Chantel. So in 2017, early, actually is like January 1st, 2017, I was diagnosed with a very rare and aggressive form of breast cancer called inflammatory breast cancer. And it doesn't pose itself as a lump. It's something that does not even caught on a mammogram. But the minute you have a symptom, you're already stage 3B, 3C, or stage 4. And in a matter of weeks can make the difference between the stages with this type of cancer. I thankfully was at 3C, so it had spread beyond my breast, but it did not go into and my lymph nodes, but nowhere else. And I was scared to death, and I knew I'm a single mom, and I was like, how am I going to be able to get through a year of treatment, 5 months of chemo, radiation, multiple surgeries, and be able to also make the money that I need to make in order for me and my children to survive. And so I decided I wanted to, because I like to be vulnerable. I want to share my stories, because I feel like if I share my bad stories and people learn from it, then that was the reason why I had to go through it. I decided to share with my whole community, including my brokers, my sphere, that I was diagnosed with this, and that that I still am. I'm still here to do business. And if I did not feel I could do the business, I would certainly let them know. But I really needed them to trust me that I can still help them. And I had my whole broker community, not just for my brokerage, but the entire area. They surrounded me with love and light, and they said they would do anything that I needed to do, have done, and they didn't want anything in return. They were amazing, and then my clients were amazing as well. And I had my best year in real estate that year at that time, and I just want to put that out there, because I know lots of times we get scared. We have our own personal challenges that we go through. And we worry about, especially health challenges, how is that going to impact our business? But I can tell you right now that things can still be okay. And I'm here to talk to anybody who has any issues, with their health or otherwise, that they need to talk to me about.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about, you're known as top listing agents in your area. So what is it that you're doing? Because to me, they always say if you're listing properties, that is the absolute key to success. So what are all of the specific things that you're doing to get more listings?
Sure. So, well, I think it's, if I get an opportunity to even come to the table, I normally, 95% of the time, I'd say I win. And I think it's because I try to bring something that looks different than what others are, what the other brokers are bringing to the table. So I have a really great seller presentation that I send out immediately once I get a call. And it's sort of just it's a little bit of information about me and my team and how we do business. So they get that before they even meet us. And it's like a magazine type book, but it's a digital book. And then when I get to the listing, of course, if I don't know them, I've tried to find out who they are. I look on Facebook, try to see if there's any commonalities that I could bring up that we share. I always want to be authentic. Obviously, I don't want to do something that's not authentic. And then the other main thing is knowing your stats, and being able to speak to them and knowing the market stats. I use Trend Graphics, which is a market. And I'm happy to send the digital book too. Get that as well. But I have market stats that I bring about what's going on in their neighborhood. I also show them, what are my stats. There's a spreadsheet that sometimes I will bring in if I know that I'm really competing. And I will have, and I can share this as well, but it has what my stats are on one column, and then just a blank list of, for other agents for them to fill out. So then they can, I'm not saying that I don't want to provide the other agents that, their information, but I want to say, look, here are my stats. I encourage you to see what other brokers you're interviewing, what their stats are. So then that seems to help me out a lot. And it's promoting your strengths. I have a team. I have Krista, who's my pre-listing manager, who's amazing. Staging, I only hire the best stager, the best photographer, and show off the photos. And then I have a copywriter as well. And now we have AI that helps us too. And I definitely use that. But I think the other thing with it is and this might sound a little counterintuitive, but I will also tell clients if I don't think they should sell. I will, if I hear their story and I want to hear why are they selling, and they're telling me it's because of financial reasons, and they have a basement that could become a mother-in-law apartment, I will bring that up. I will say, well, have you thought about this? Or you could do a furnished finder downstairs, and that can bring in income. Have you thought about maybe, not selling this, but renting it out, because you're going to get a lot of rent on this, but you might be able to find something that has less rent for you to rent temporarily. I will do whatever it takes, whatever's in their best interest, even if it means I tell them not to sell and I don't take the listing.
I love that. And we actually, part of our mission statement says to glorify God by putting our clients' needs above our own, because when you get to a place where you genuinely can do what is in the best interest for your client, that is such a big deal. And I love the piece that you talked about, the go-giving piece, because we are super passionate about giving back to our organizations. And I always say, if you are doing this so that you're putting clients at the best interest and that's giving back, that is kind of where you're getting to your absolute sweet spot. Well, this is awesome. Tell listeners where they can find you and where they can follow you.
Oh, sure. So you can find me on Instagram at Hines Group Homes. And then you can also find me on Facebook. I'm Sandra Hines, the agency Seattle, and Hines Group Homes.
Love it. Well, thank you so much for being with us. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Let's show her some love in the chat and show her how much we appreciate her time and all of her energy. That was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a rating and a review so we can get this out to more agents. And tune in next week for another power-packed episode. This is the Millionaire Real Estate Podcast.